YouTube, modding the expression pedal, and this mod is for when you're toe down, it's too much. Okay, so in other words, I've got a delay, and when I pull this toe up, it's dry. There's no echo. When I toe down, it's 100% echo, but that's too much. I want it to be no echo, 50% max, because I never turn my echo all the way up. Well, oh, there's an adjuster here. No, that adjuster works on the other end of the sweep. That's from the 0 to make the 0 dry, a 10 wet, 20 wet, 30 wet. That's what happens. And basically what it is, if you look at the schematic, there's inside of this, there's a main pot, and then there's the adjuster pot. We'll call it the treadle pot, or the main pot, and then the adjuster. Now that main pot, the adjuster pot, is a 10K, meaning it runs from 0 resistance, 0 ohms, to 10 kilo ohms resistance. This adjuster pot is a 0 ohm to 50K. So how this works is, if you have it set at 0, this device will run 10K to 0. If you turn this all the way up to 10, it's going to run, we'll say, 50K to 60K. And how that affects it is, see, I never checked that. I shouldn't say that, 50K to 60K. I would have to see how it actually. Anyway, for me, wiring this up, testing it and then unplugging it and checking it with an ohm meter was telling me about where I was at, that it was at 10K. And I quickly realized what I wanted to do was have it run from 10K to 5K. When I'm toe down, I didn't want it to be 0 ohms. I wanted it to be 5K. Now, you can damage stuff, and that would give me about 50% of my mix. So if you're looking for a different mod, there's a way to use the EV5 with pedals that this expression pedal doesn't work with, where it's a 2-prong expression pedal. And you can do that. There's another video out where you take these screws out. There's one screw that stays in, the middle screw. It's kind of in the middle. It's off to the left, just northeast. Anyway, there's another video where you take the panel off and then you rewire the ground. Sometimes they flip-flop the polarity of these wires. There's all sorts of ways to mod your expression pedal. And the way I'm referring to is if your toe down is way too much and you want to lessen that effect. So again, in my Zoom G3, you can assign it. There's a parameter that lets you adjust what your toe down is. And that's awesome, man. It's not like on the Digitech, the old Digitech that I had, when you would toe down and you would tell it what you wanted, but it was always like way too much. Like it would get louder, like flanger, like, come on, guys. And that's what I was running into with the Moore Ocean machine. So how you do it, there's 3 wires coming into that main treadle pot. You disconnect the middle wire and add a 5K resistor in there. So to make it more complicated, you unsolder the middle wire. It's the white wire on mine. You gotta look. Sometimes they use different color wire, or red and white is switched. You never know. This was the white wire. It was connected to the middle. There's 3 connections on the pot. The middle connection was the one that I needed to wire this to. So I unsoldered that white wire on the middle connection of the treadle pot. And then I soldered in a 2-inch extension wire just for good measure. Little piece of wire that I trimmed both ends and soldered it, made it nice. And that gave me a nice platform to just add this resistor in. Actually, the first piece of wire that I soldered in, I extended the white wire about 6 inches. And then I got another 6-inch piece. So I could set it down with those wires coming out off the side and swap resistors in and out of it. While I had my meter set up, I put some alligator clips carefully on the end of this and tested it so I knew what I was trying to replicate rather than doing this with the machine, the expensive machine. So we want to be careful. If you put too much resistance on something, you can run into an explosion. You can blow a transistor, or I really don't want someone telling me, dude, where's my Kemper? You know. So yeah, middle lug. And then what you do to bypass it is you got that you disconnect that wire. You got that flopping around, and then you solder in another one, so you've got something to work with. And then you cut in your resistor. There's your resistor. Well, let's pretend the resistor's there. I'm going to move my hands. Just keep that there in your mind. You have another pair of wires coming out from there with those resistors soldered in. You put another pair of wires with a bypass switch. So then the bypass switch is down here. Let's just imagine, keep that in our head, this is the resistor 5K. So when we're at 0, your effect is seeing 5K. All right. The bypass switch sits down here. So if it's open, the switch is open, your circuits, electrons are going to seek path of least resistance. They're going to go through that resistor. All right. That's your mod. But when you close that switch, they're not going through that resistor. They're going to go right through. So that's how I'm able to bypass the mod, use it on whatever. And what it's doing, like I said, it's changing the mode of operation in this thing. Not the sweep. The sweep is the same. It's changing the numbers that are coming out of it from 10K to 0 to 10K to 5K. So that's not going to blow anything up. It's going to change the way it affects, and sometimes that's not going to be pleasant. Ultimately, what would have been smarter than adding a resistor is put a 10K pot in there and have that pot on a switch. Really, that's something you're going to be fumbling with, that pot. Yeah. Really, the smart thing to do, if this ends up being a thing with me, I'll probably put an internal pot, a trimmer, and have that inside. But that's getting really ridiculous. Be safe with your expression pedal mods. Again, I had that thing with the Dan Electro chicken salad where I added some resistance. I was trying to, it had a real sensitive rate knob, and I was trying to, the question I asked was, can I add another pot to have a fine control where you have this coarse control that really, if you touched it, it would wow, 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 and then you touch it the other way and wow, slow. I didn't like that. So I wanted to have another pot. And I had already rehoused it in a nice metal chassis. And so I posed this question to the DIY community, and I got a guy, Mike Screwdriver, we'll call him. He's well, let's see. If we get to the root of the issue, the LFO, tri-harmonic structure of the triodes and the diodes, can be manipulated through the proper judicious application of resistance per se at the proper conjunction point of the LFO sequence of trimagnification. And he's just going on and on, and I'm like, dude, just tell me what I need to do. So he tells me, I put this thing in here, turn it on, boom, smoke out, blows. Literally, parts were ricocheting. So I'm like, I can't believe this guy just played me. He told like he knows enough about this stuff, and he just doesn't like me. The guy like obviously hated me, and I bothered him enough that he let me have it. He wanted me to take my toys and go home. Because I told him, I'm like, this is a birthday present or Christmas present from my wife. And I was just unbelievably dejected. I couldn't believe that it happened. And it's surface mount technology. It's these tiny components. So I'm looking at it under magnification. I deball it with the soldering and solder in these micro wires and like tape them down into channels and everything and like hot gluing these micro wires, and then I'm like, well, what do I even hook up? It's a 3-wire thing that blew up. Is it a transistor? So I'm looking at the schematic and there's nothing. I don't even know. I ended up guessing that it was a NPN switching transistor. So I soldered in a PN2222 because my lucky number is 2, and it works. I've got it over here. It still works. But that's why I'm really weird about adding resistance to stuff and trying to be careful. Um, Especially when you're playing around with an effect that has an expression pedal jack. Usually those are the good ones. It's not like an old big muff. It's something digital or, expensive. So again, be careful, think it through, do the math. Like I said, initially I had looked at this diagram with a pot wired as a voltage divider where they showed the pot like this and they said add in 2 more resistors in parallel, and it had a thing, what's the value of your pot? Oh, it's 10K. What are you trying to hit? 5K. And it said, oh, you gotta love these people that are wailing on the horns in close quarters. It said cut in a pair of 5K and that will get you 5K out of a 10. And I did that, and then when I did my testing, it didn't come up right. So I quickly realized, no, that's not right. What you need is when this thing is reading 0, when it's putting out 0, when it's toe down, it's not 0. So you need to add 5K to one of these wires. So if you're in that position where your toe down is giving you way too much, that's what you need to do. Start with the middle wire. I got to go through a brick through that guy's windshield. Start with the middle wire on going to the main pot. That's probably it. And you can bypass it with a switch. And good luck. Be careful. Don't come crying to me when you blow up your damn electro chicken salad. All right, you guys. Best of luck. I'm sorry it takes me so long to explain this stuff, but I do the best I can. All right, peace.